Hello, everybody. I am Jessica Koch, and it is Friday. Yay! And we are live on LinkedIn. I love being live on LinkedIn. All right. So, this is Profound Professionals. We've been running the series almost 4 years now, and we feature leaders in their industry who are doing amazing things in the world. And today I have the honor and pleasure of being with Jay Fairbrother, the founder and CEO of the Profit Architect. I mean, don't we all want to be an architect of our own profit? I think that is just a genius title and name. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm so glad to be with you.
So tell me, how did you end up being a profit architect? That's a journey story in a nutshell. It's Friday, so we want to give them the short version of the story because everyone wants to go out and do the fun stuff for the rest of the weekend.
I hear you. Okay, I will try to keep it short. So I was born. No. So so I've been a serial entrepreneur for 30 years. I think I'm on my ninth business. So if there's any ADD coaches out there listening, please hook me up. So I've had enough businesses to have both some pretty good successes, but also massive failures, which I think is important when you want to look to have a consultant or coach work with you. I have founded businesses, scaled them, bought them, sold them. And part of my journey also includes the fun years of 2008 through 2010, when I literally lost everything. And I mean everything. I lived in my friend's basement for several months during that recovery period. So I spent a number of years in what I call the cellar of shame. I don't know what innate quality people have that they can just immediately turn around and shrug it off and bounce back. I didn't do that. It took me a long time. I sort of went underground. I actually did, some internet marketing. I wrote a book. I, created a course, but I sort of stepped back from a lot of the entrepreneurial circles that I'd been in and developed over the first 20 years of my journey. And so I'm kind of a story of reinvention. I, kind of recreated myself in the last couple of years, started the Profit Architects, back into business coaching and consulting. So that's the short version.
It's interesting because it's similar to my story. So I was in sales and marketing and big business development, high level business development for a long time, working for other people's companies, making them a lot of money. And, once I had left the firm I had been with, 15, 17, some ridiculous amount of years of my blood, sweat, and tears in building their business as business development for Fortune 100 and government, which they never saw before I got there. And I'm not discrediting them. I learned so much, and they took a chance on me, and I bloomed and got so many great connections and developed my skills in that time period, and connections, unreal connections. So I owe a lot to them as well. But once the main owners kind of bought each other out and they got so big, I was left out of the equation, and then ended up going to 3 different new companies that in a very short amount of time quickly negated on the contract agreement they had with me. And so I was, from that standpoint, I mean, financially we were okay, but I was broken. My husband had been the main, I was the main breadwinner, and then he was the main home provider. We had another child at the end, he turned 50 and she turned 1. So we had it's a last hurrah, baby, right? I was 38. He's 11 years older than me. So we started over. We have 6 adults, and now we have a 10-year-old, I'm just saying. But anyway, at that point, he kept his business open. He's a licensed general contractor, but he was taking care of her the whole time. And I said, well, you're going back to work. I'm going to market you, and I'm staying home and never working again. I was done. I was permanently and mentally, like you, like the cellar of shame. But for me, it was more like a permanent retirement, because I was disheartened by people and their lack of loyalty, for the years I invested in the first company, and then just non-commitment to what I thought would be wonderful at these other opportunities that didn't turn out to be healthy for me or good. So I was just going to homeschool our kid and market my husband. That was it. I was never going to sell anything again. I was never going to work for anyone again. I call it, you call it the seller shame. I call it my Jonah and the whale period, where I voluntarily crawled in and was quite happy to be there. I didn't step through the threshold of our home office. We have this big, beautiful home office. I mean, big world calendar on the wall, and nicely decorated desks that face each other, so it's kind of romantic when my husband and I are working together in the office. We can see each other, and everything's. I wouldn't come in here, and I didn't get on social media, and I just sat on the beach and I homeschooled my kid. And that's, I hang out with my kid and play with her all day long. That's what I did. And I got dragged out of that whale by my ankles to start this business about 4 years ago, but so happy I did. So what pulled you out?
So it's interesting because after you lose everything, you go into it like a survival mode, or at least I did. So actually the first several years after I had lost everything were actually easier than the ensuing years after that, because I sort of, after you go through that survival mode, then you're sitting there a few years later, you still haven't built back, everything you lost. And you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, I'm kind of out of the survival mode, but now I'm just like, broke. So yeah, it was interesting because I actually had a personal thing happen. It had to do with a relationship that ended, and it put me in a really bad place, which surprised me that even had occurred that way. But I was in a bad place, and I really had to reach for, what's my why? What do I need to sort of grasp onto? My kids are grown and successful. Like, I need something to pull me out of this. And I wish I could say, there was some bright light in the sky that appeared. But what I came to is very simple. It's just like, I need to get back to just hanging out with and helping entrepreneurs. That's been the core, to everything I had done up to that point. That's what I need to get back into. And that's what led to me starting the consulting business, and then also getting involved in the Global Leaders Organization, GLOW, which I think we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the profit architect, as you started to crawl yourself back into this position of stability, tell us about what it does. What was your idea around starting? And I get you kind of wanted to hang and chill with the entrepreneurs, but what is it that you provide, and what's your skill set with this company?
So I work with business owners as a business coach for owners that want to just grow and most importantly, seek more profit from their growth. And I also do a lot of sales coaching and sales training, just because that's been a core strength of mine throughout all of the businesses that I've built over the years. So the reason to focus on profits is from my own experience, right? So the first company that I started, I started it on credit cards, scaled it up. When I hit 50 employees, my ego was pretty happy with myself. When I hit 5 million in sales, I kind of thought I was a big shot. But I still wasn't making any money. I was barely making 6 figures. I hadn't had a vacation, other than a long weekend in like 7 years. And so, fortunately, I figured it out, and we started to make money. By the time I hit 200 employees, we were very profitable, and I sold that business for millions of dollars a few years later. I never would have been able to sell that business if we weren't that profitable. And so, to me, the focus on profits is critical, because, when we start businesses, so many entrepreneurs, it's, more leads, more clients, more revenue. We take every client that walks in the door, if they're a good fit or not. And it's really, an educational process to figure out, okay, who are the right clients I need to be working with, and how do I, make money? And that leads to kind of the second point, which is the idea of making money. A lot of people have mental blocks around the idea of profit. It's like, well, I don't want to be greedy. And some people just have mental blocks around the ideas of money. And I'm not a shrink. I can help a little bit with those mental blocks, but there's other professionals that you might need to really get beyond that. But one of the things I do when I start working with a client is I start with what's your profit why? So, thanks to Simon Sinek, we all know to ask the question, what's your why? Well, I ask, what's your profit why? And the reason I start there is because I need to understand if you have mental issues around, the idea of making a lot of profit. But the other thing is, for the business owner, you need to understand what that why is, so that you can pursue it intelligently.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter, it's not the answer. There's plenty of good answers, right? If you want to be greedy, fine. If you want to take that fancy vacation you've never had, that's great. If you want to just reinvest all the profit back into the business to help it grow, that's great. If you want to just, donate it all to somebody and make the world a better place, or if you just want to use it so you can help and serve more people through your business, all of those are great answers, right? There's no right answer, but it's important that you understand that answer so that you can start to pursue strategies to get there.
For sure. And so what are some of the different ways they can work with you? Is it all one-on-one, or is there group options, or there online course? Like, what are the different mediums and ways you work with clients?
Yeah, it's primarily one-on-one. I do have, I'm working on a course that's going to come out in a couple of months, and I'm also starting group coaching the beginning of the year, but
Oh, cool.
primarily one-on-one. With the thing is, with helping businesses through the many options they have to look at, if you're going to focus on more profit, it's unfortunately there's not a cookie cutter way to go about it. When I sit down with somebody, we'll look at up to 30, 40 different areas of their business and come up with a list of the areas where they can have the biggest impact with the least amount of cost and effort. Then what we do is we take that list and break it down into 6 to 10 priorities, and we put them in order. Biggest impact, lowest cost, write down, and then create a plan to work together to start attacking those priorities.
Yeah, that makes really good sense. I'm excited about your group program and your online course. That sounds like some exciting stuff. So hopefully we'll get to hear more about that in the future. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled and check out your website. All of Jay's information, by the way, will be in the comments below, whatever video spot you're looking at, and also connected to an article. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That'll be coming out soon, and we'll throw that up in the comments as well, and post it a few places. Is there anything else you want to share about the Profit Architect before we kind of move on to some of the next interesting topics?
I would just share, a couple of strategies that most business owners can look at in terms of having an immediate effect on profit without a lot of cost. So one is just pricing. There's so many business owners, especially right now, as we speak, because of the supply chain issues and the price increases that are going on around the world related to supply chain problems. It's a great time to raise your prices because everybody's doing it. You're not going to stand out from often a lot of your competitors if you raise price, but you also don't want to raise prices willy-nilly. You don't want to just throw out a price increase without understanding why and having some justification, maybe some added value that you're going to offer in order to justify that price increasing. And one of the things you have to be careful of or look at before you do any price increases is the effect if you lose customers by that price increase. So I walk people through, it's not a complicated formula, but what's your price, what's your cost of goods, your hard costs, soft costs, and then what's the net effect to the bottom line. And what's amazing is that a lot of times when we do that exercise, you come up with a formula that says if you increase your prices 5% and you lose 20 to 25% of your customers, you're still net ahead of the game. And often we want to lose 20 to 25% of our customers because they're not the right fit customers anyway. They're what I call PETA clients. And I don't think we're good to explain what PETA means on this format, but
We will just guess that they're not the ones we want.
yeah. So pricing is one strategy. The other strategy that I ask people to look at is, especially if your business depends on any kind of selling, is to look at the bottom of your sales funnel. We're so focused and driven to always be looking at the top of the sales funnel. That's that growth thing, more leads, more clients, more revenue. And nobody really pays much attention to the bottom and what's leaking out of your sales funnel, because you're not good at that last stage, which is conversion. And there's, some simple things people can do, like using stories instead of, using big words and flowery language and platitudes, that will have, can have a pretty dramatic effect on your sales process. And it's the same kind of thing. If you look at converting 10% more of the people at the bottom of your funnel that are leaking out, that can have sometimes a very profound impact on your overall profits.
Awesome.
So there's just a couple of examples of things you can begin to look at. But like I said, there's, we can look at 40 different areas and do that kind of analysis.
Well, that's awesome. And I think that that's something really good to think about is, and I've been talking about, we have less than, I think at this point, 84 days left in the year. And this fourth quarter is hot and heavy to determining how your sales will close out for 2021. And as you're looking at that, one of the things I suggested, and the 5 main things I suggested for them to look at were, go to your current clients, make sure that you're asking for that email introduction or text message personal introduction, however you, or a LinkedIn personal message introduction, however you can personally follow up. And then secondly, make sure you go through and the current clients, as well as the clients you've had in the last 4 years. That should be a call or some sort of contact you're making. And then the people you've met with over the course of this year, go all the way back and make sure you've retouched back with all of those people in the same manner of the, hey, how's timing for you now? How are you doing now? And or do you have someone based on our meeting that you could email introduce me to, or LinkedIn introduce me to, that you feel comfortable with after spending a little time and getting to know me? And then the next one is making sure that they have gone through all of anything you pay money to, associations, chambers, anything you're paying to be a member of the club. Have you and your team gone through, reached out to all of them, connected with them on LinkedIn, scheduled a getting to know you call, or invited them to your free monthly networking mastermind thing, Mabobit, whatever you've got going on, so that in a group format, you could start engaging with more people and leveraging your time. And some of these things are really low-hanging fruit to vamp up and squeeze out in the shortest amount of time possible as many more sales as you can before the year closes out. So
I totally agree with everything you just said, and it aligns with something a line that I've been using this year, which, if it weren't for COVID and everything we learned through that, this line would appear old school. Maybe that's just because I'm old, but it's that profits are now personal. In other words, especially after COVID, people want that human connection. They want, they want to feel that bond. And so everything that you just described fits exactly into that model. In other words, if in the old days, you used to not really have to interact with clients, or you could reactivate an old client without, online or something like that. Like it really, people want that human connection now.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay. So beyond work and business and growing profits everywhere, you're doing some other interesting things. And that's just why I bring people on this show, is they're profound or doing unique things in their industry. And they're also touching the community and the world in a greater way. And you're working on another project. Typically we feature at this point a nonprofit that makes the person's heart sing, but you have a startup that is doing some exciting things in the world. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. It's called Global Leaders Organization, or GLOW. You can check it out at the website. It's very easy, www.withglow.com. And basically, we are forming a global community of entrepreneurs. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs grow their businesses by 25%. And GLOW is modeled after two very successful entrepreneurial organizations, EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and YPO, Young Presidents Organization. And we've taken the best of those organizations, plus added some additional components and resources for entrepreneurs, most prominently the access to capital. We have a platform with funders looking to work with entrepreneurs who need either debt or equity funds to grow their businesses. So this is very much a mission-driven organization to help entrepreneurs. We have right now, I think, about a dozen chapters in North America, and one of my roles with that organization, I run the Pittsburgh chapter here, but my role in the organization as executive vice president is to find, recruit, and train chapter chairs all over the world to begin a chapter in their local city. And again, our mission is just to help entrepreneurs we have unbelievable business content, access to some of the top thought leaders in the business universe that are regular speakers with GLOW, access to capital. And then the monthly chapters have monthly chapter events, and we form forum peer groups, peer entrepreneur mastermind groups within each local chapter. So I'm very passionate about it. It's a great organization, and we're growing very fast.
That's awesome. Really cool. I was just at a global event that was a really great networking thing. So there's just so many things that have happened where internationally we're all communicating at such a higher level. And it's kind of exciting. There's so many cultures and so much to learn. And so if you're not involved with one, I highly recommend it. So that's awesome. We'll make sure that that information is also in the comments below. And you know what? I think it's Friday. We should send all these amazing viewers on their way. We want to thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting and liking and sharing, because your actions do speak louder than words. So we appreciate you giving us the support. And please also let in the comments, let us know how we can support you. What do you have going on? What events do you have going on? I am happy to promote them. So put it out there. But lastly, and not leastly, before we say goodbye and wrap up, I always love to ask our guests to share with us something that has deeply impacted their success journey, and that they can share with us that might help you in your success.
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. So through organizations like I just described, like GLOW, that I have belonged to in the past for 20 some years, I have been involved in these peer forum groups. I've been in 6 or 7, and I even run my own now. And I just am a huge believer for entrepreneurs. Get in a peer group, get in some kind of mastermind. They're not all created equal. There's definitely some that are better than others. Make sure it's very structured. You're not just sitting around BSing with other entrepreneurs about your business. But there's no doubt in my 30 years as an entrepreneur that the biggest learning, the most impact that I've had is by hanging out every month with a group of 9 or 10 other entrepreneurs who are really the only ones that can understand your struggle, more so than family, friends, colleagues. It's just something very powerful. And so I say, every entrepreneur on the planet should be in some kind of peer group.
I think that's wonderful. Yeah, I do. I have a regular accountability partner. I have a mastermind I've been involved in, actually several. So, and I have coaches, and I believe in all of that. So I think that's fantastic. All right, everyone, we're going to lead you off on your happy Friday. Have a beautiful weekend. And as always, I always say, be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other, and take care until the next Profound Professionals. And that could be you. So let us know. Reach out. Thanks. Bye, everybody.